So today, the first thing I'm going to do actually is something that I think Jonathan has been doing for a while, but I haven't really talked about. And that is I'm going to like tape the edge of my source and so I'm kind of taping it actually to my desk. But what this does, and this is masking tape. So what this does is give you a little bit of a preserved border, which looks really awesome when you peel it off after at the end of the lesson. I'd say it's like kind of like unwrapping a Christmas present. So I thought today I'd invite you to try that yourself, or you don't have to, but I thought I'd talk about it. Um, it really does add kind of a layer. It's amazing. It's just like framing. Um, And I have this really absurdly thick tape, so I'm splitting it in half. Let's see. Let's do this. Yeah. And I'm keeping my sample small, mostly because it's hard to see anything bigger on the screen, but also because it's kind of a little bit manageable. And like Jonathan was questioning whether this was actually water. I had to confirm it is. It's totally water. But it has a totally different quality than the water we looked at next last week, the work that we worked with last week, although the composition is similar. Um, and what I really like about this is all the color striations. So you're going to want, here, hold on, I'm going to pop this up. You're going to want a sample. This is a little piece of watercolor paper that I'm going to use for samples like we did last time. We're going to do some mixing samples. And the challenge here is going to be maintaining the lightness while getting these dark striations of color that are kind of whipping through. And it's because the sun is setting. So, but so there's this kind of orange that's slightly becoming dark here, right in the sky, and then it kind of gets lighter on top. And there's a kind of thin, light, white line that you're going to want to preserve. Um, and then there's this area, which starts out, which is kind of like a variation on this grayish color. So I just think the practicing, so we're going to practice a little bit of layering before we jump in, just to make sure. And I think this will be a good continuation from what we did last week, just to kind of practice that idea. I'm not even going to suggest masking fluid. I think we really learned that that was something that's not particularly, we don't really need that. And so I'm going to say again, let's give ourselves a couple of boxes. We're going to be playing again with that light wash, with that sort of wet wash, right? So the real question becomes, what are the colors that are going to create these blended forms? There is blue and orange in here. There's also something that looks like either a muted orange or perhaps a kind of pinky tone. Um, so before we even get into laying our colors down, I want to play around with a few color combination mixes just to see what we get. Um, to me, what I mostly see here is a blue and orange combo. So I'm coming down here. I've got a little bit of ultramarine blue, and I want you to see it's very light. And I'm laying this ultramarine blue, this kind of, yeah, that's it. Well, it's funny because this has a very greenish blue look, but I think for back here. And we're gonna try two things. Hang on. I want to see what happens when I mix a little bit of wet blue with burnt sienna. So I'm going to show you this color combo. So I'm kind of looking at this color right now, which is kind of a grayish color, but it's orangey. Um, so I've got burnt sienna, which is like an orange. And before the blue is dry, I want to blend some down into it just to see what kind of grayish mix I get. I might add a little bit more blue on top. This is all still wet. That's interesting. That's pretty. Well, I didn't expect this to work so well on the first try, but I kind of think ultramarine blue and burnt sienna might create this color. Bringing in a little bit more blue, bringing in a little more orange. It's kind of a grayish, orangey. And there's a slightly pink tone. So I'm also going to I'm going to tell you guys, I'm taking you through my process. I don't really know what's going to work. So, so I'm taking you through my process to see. I'm now blending in a little bit of quinacridone red, particularly into the orangey mix on the top, but also into that blue mix below to see if I can get something that looks kind of grayish that grows up into. So now I'm mixing these two together. Burns sort of an orangey pinkish. I kind of like it. Wow. And then making it get lighter as it goes up. I'm going back in and adding more blue down here to see, and more orange to see if I can kind of get heavier or darker. Oh my God. Go figure. So with three colors, let me lay them out for you and send them over to you. Ultramarine blue, quinacridone red, which is like kind of a Barbie pink, and burnt sienna, which is like a. With these three colors, I've been able to create that sky. So that's kind of my first test is how do I get my colors? I'm going to send you a picture of this. And although it started out wet on dry, it quickly became wet on wet. Spotlight for just a second here. Picture. And this across the thread. A little bit shadowing. There we go. I'm sending that over so you can see the colors. Is that not wild? I just think that's amazing. I'm using a very basic measure, mixing principle, which is the idea that gray, I can mix a gray from any two complements. So the complements here are blue and orange, right? That is the complement. Um, and then, so it kind of goes from grayish to bluish to orangey with a little bit of pink. And then it gets lighter, almost gets kind of green. So I'm going to mix a little bit more blue in up here to see if I can. I don't know if that ultramarine blue is going to do it. It's a little too warm. Nope, that's definitely not working. Wiping it off. There's almost a yellow tint to the sky. Maybe I try burnt sienna and a touch of yellow. They're blending in over the top. I might have too much paint there now. So as I'm kind of working the sky plane, when I come here, I'm gonna go wet on wet. I'm gonna wet my sky sample, which is here. I pretty much know the colors I want to start with. Do I now? Sure. I'm thinking about, so this is wet on wet. I'm thinking ultramarine blue getting lighter and lighter as it goes to the top, maybe as the first layer. This is for this whole sky plane. And then I start adding the other colors in. That's crazy. That's obviously very orange, so I want more blue to create a gray down here. Yeah. And a little pink. Funny, I'm getting a little bit more green when I go wet on wet, when I go immediately wet on wet. Trying to get more blue in there. Trying to get more of that shift going here. It's looking a little muddier. So wet on dry might be the way on this one. And I know I'm throwing a lot at you, so I'm going to stop at this point and let you kind of catch up. But I think you see what I'm trying to do here. I think this one better than this one. Interesting. Let's see what you guys come up with for this crazy sky with all these colors in it. We might try something different up here, flip it over and do something else for the bottom. I'll send you a picture of this too. I'm not as happy with this as I am with this. Mixing is hard. Oh, here, let me pop this up. Which is why we spend so much time working on it. If we Here's another thought. Starting with orange. Wet on wet. Starting with kind of an orange base. It's another way of thinking about it. Maybe these colors blend better. So I'm starting with burnt sienna, adding a little quin red when I get up here, and then more, and then a touch of yellow into my burnt sienna up here. The blue gets laid on top. While things are still wet. That might work better. So the two challenges, there's like two challenges here, really. And one is kind of getting it light enough so you don't, overdo. It's not just the mixing, it's the kind of an amount of paint you're using is kind of challenging. So that's why we're practicing. Practicing, practicing. I might like that better. And then I might even experiment with like, say, a slightly greener, like either phthalo blue, since we're just experimenting, instead of ultramarine on top, maybe a little, no, that's cobalt. Here. Maybe a little phthalo blue, very light. Oh, I kind of like that. So this one had the ultramarine blue on the base layer, and this had burnt sienna as the base layer, very light. And then I laid the blues in, an ultramarine blue down here and and a phthalo blue up here. And I actually think that works better. So I'll mark that and I'll send those over. Top. Burnt sienna as the base that goes everywhere. And then ultramarine blue on the bottom. And a little bit of quin red and burnt sienna kind of here. I know these are very dark versions of that color, but that's really the set of colors. So let me send that over as well. Are you guys following or am I going too fast? I'd stop right now. How's that? So play around with that a little bit. We're working on this sky. Let's see. In your test, when you think you have a sky you're kind of happy with, send it over. And if you're struggling, I'll help you with some of those mixes. How's everybody's day today? Besides, we're all a little tired. I'm hoping this still feels relaxing, even if it feels a little hard. Studies make it so much easier because you're right, like the pressure isn't on so much to like get it right. You can kind of play around with it and get into the mode. The good news for us, the harder part is the shorter part. I think the easier part, which is the sky, is the bigger part. You can put that rock in or not. It doesn't really matter. I finally went to the art store and got new tube paints, which I really prefer over the pats. And if you're struggling with this, send it over so I can take a look. Um, it might be you're using too much paint, not enough water. Might be not enough water, too much, not enough paint. I don't know. Or if you're just enjoying the process of playing to try and create these three layers, I'll let that be. That's pretty cool too. I will, when we actually lay our painting down, I will walk through again this combo, which I think is the combo for um, this guy. So oh, I'll be right back, guys. All right. Does either of you have anything satisfactory that you're happy with?
Um, Let me send you. I have it's working on it.
Okay. I'm not in a rush. So, like, if you want to keep working on this, we have got plenty of time. We've got an hour and a half left in class. I just want to see kind of where you're at. Not bad, Jonathan. I think we need a little more. Is that burnt sienna?
Yeah.
Um, let's I would say add a little Quinn red and maybe perhaps a touch of yellow to your burnt sienna and layer it in on top to
Okay.
get it kind of more orangey. So I think what's happened is your blue. Here, I'm gonna pop this up so you can see it. You're close. And I'm so sorry to make you guys do this, but I think this is really nuanced and important work to learn how to do. It's hard, but I believe in you too. I think you can do it. Here, hold on. Let me. Yes. So here, I feel like too much blue is drifting up into here, right? So your gray is so my suggestion is this. Start with a light burnt sienna wash so you can maintain and then bring the blue in here, down here. Bring your ultramarine blue in down here and maybe your phthalo up here. So that you can preserve a little bit more of that orangey color here. You're close. It's good. It's looking good. Super hard. Beth, feel free to send it in if you want. It's also okay if you don't want to. I'm uh, I'm just here to torture you a little bit and also help. Help and torture. I feel like it. And while I'm waiting for you guys, I'm going to do this. But also, it's not like anybody dies if we don't get this right. So it should be also just kind of restful, blending in colors. All right, I'm going to down here. I'm going to make this very small. I want my sky to be bigger. So I brought my pencil line and maybe a little bit higher. I'm not going to do this yet. I'm just kind of prepping what will happen. And also, if you don't totally get it, you can tweak it. I'm not requiring that you do exactly what's here, but what I do want is for us to see kind of how colors blend together. When does it become gray into sort of pinky orange, into subtle light blue, kind of yellowish blue? How to achieve that? We're going to spend another like 5 minutes on this, and then I'm going to flip this around and we're going to work on this, which is a little bit of a continuation of this, but I want to also experiment with some color combinations. think that's what's happening. Cool. Sending it over, Beth? Yes. Great. It's also okay if you don't quite get this in the samples. The samples are partly my way of figuring out how to paint this. So I will walk you through as we layer these. I'll walk you through it. But the samples are kind of the way I figure out color mixing. So even if you can't quite get it on this, that's also okay. Now, as long as I can get it, I'll be able to walk you guys through it. This really is process 101, meaning I may have been painting for a long time, but I also have to kind of like step back and figure out what color to lay first, what works when I'm trying to get like, kind of striations like this, what's going to look good over what. It's interesting. Yeah, so Beth, you are using too much paint. Your initial washes are too heavy, and that's what's happening. You got to go light, 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 lighter than you think, right? So you can get rid of that. Here, I'll show you. I'll pop it up. It's so, so light, and I'll demonstrate actually, but let me pop this up just to point at what I'm talking about. You're getting this is better, but you're getting this black edge here because you've just got too much paint. There's too much pigment. When I say too much paint, I mean too much pigment. It's too, so watch this. I'm going to demo for you. Try this. I know, and I did that very fast, so totally you can call me on that. So I took I'm getting burnt sienna right now, and I'm super lightening it. Like so light that I can barely see it. Can you see that? You can barely see it, right? That's how light I'm laying in my first layer. So that when I lay in colors on top, I'm doing it very lightly. So as I'm adding in that blue on, to see how light that blue is? Even though it looks dark, it's still pretty light. I'm not getting that black mark because there's so little pigment. And then I'm going to add a little bit of, I'm going to clean my brush. I'm going to get a little bit of quinacridone red and a little bit of orange. And I'm going to drift that in a little bit heavier. But everything's still pretty light. So it's just so light, lighter than you think. Is that too heavy? It's okay. Right, so I have this area that feels, and then I can add a little bit more blue in here. but I'm still not getting that heavy black mark because maybe a touch down here, but not up here because the layers are so light. And then my last step is to add a little bit of phthalo blue, greeny blue up here. But light, 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 right? No dark marks because I'm going so light. The key to watercolor is light layers that you build up. And we get very excited by color. Um, so it's hard on a subtle piece like this to really get how much a little bit goes a long way. And how do you lighten color? You get kind of little bits on your brush, but you also, sorry, one of the things you can't really see here, I'm going to move it over here. You dip it in the water in between. So I'm like this, pulling this, dipping the water. I'm kind of testing it on the side here before I lay it down so that I know when I lay it down in my area that it's light enough. I probably dipped this brush in water in the paint twice and in water 3 times. I want to turn our attention to the bottom here because now I'm really curious to see how to get these kind of striated layers on the bottom. So what I'm thinking, I'm going to need more paper. Hold on, I'm going to get more watercolor paper. Need more cans. So here, let me get this in here. As we start looking from the bottom up, what I'm curious about is, do we once again lay a kind of orangey pinky layer on the bottom and then get the blue up? Or can we get away with laying a blue layer first? To me, this is phthalo in its lightest form. So once again, I'm getting phthalo, which is this kind of turquoisey, greeny blue. I'm dipping it in my brush once. I'm dipping it in my water twice. I'm going to test it on here. So the test I'm going to make is if I lay in blue phthalo, you can barely even see it. Let me bring this down a little bit so you can really see what I'm doing. Look at how light. What I want to test, so that's a lot of paint, what I just grabbed there. So I'm lightening, I'm testing here on the side. So my first layer is going to be super light because what's here is not white, but it's also not very dark. And then what I want to see is, can I lay these kind of pinky layers? So I'm laying burnt sienna. And a little bit of Quin Red. Once again, super light. I'm testing it. Super light, too dark. There we go. I'm laying that on top to see if I can get that kind of light pinky quality. I think just like with the top layer, I'm going to have to go to kind of pinks first. Although I don't know, that looks kind of nice. And then later, I can get a little bit heavier. Always testing before I lay something down. Right? I'm going to lay down a blue, a darker blue stripe, maybe a couple. My lines get thinner as I go back. I'm looking at what happens as I get slightly darker. But I'm always kind of leaning on the side of light, 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 light. So I don't get those dirty, kind of blotchy messes that look like this. If my paint is too dark, like that, and I lay this down, that's when I get that heavy, dark. This is a way more subtle layering. So this is with blue first, and then the pinks on the top. Now I'm going to try. Kind of an orangey pink on the base, a little quinacridone red, and mostly burnt sienna. Testing to make sure it's not too dark, dipping my brush in water again. I might try this. See how light that is? Tiny bit more. Yeah, maybe blue on the bottom. Blue on the bottom might be the way to go. We'll see. So here's my sort of bottom orange layer. Now I'm going to see what happens when I put blue, phthalo blue on the top. Yeah. It's a little too green. So to me, what I see as I layer this in is the predominant base here is blue, whereas the predominant base here is burnt sienna. This layering doesn't look as effective as this layering does to me. And I can kind of go in with darker layers. It's also good maybe to kind of wait for it to dry a little bit. Brush got too dry. While still preserving those lights. Quite a heavy dark line I just laid down, probably too heavy. So I went right in, dipped my brush in water, and went over the top to lighten it. Yeah, I think we're going to go on this bottom part blue first and on this top part orange first. But play around with that idea as well. Honestly, these things are as fucking cool as anything we do finished product wise. In my view, I really like them. I think they're a lot of fun, kind of compelling to look at. That's probably the better one. And next week we'll do something more colorful and fun. Because this is really tricky.
Oh, I'm not going to be here next week.
Oh, you aren't? Where are you going to be?
New York.
Oh, right. Oh, you didn't tell us about this, did you?
Nope.
Are you going for shows?
Yeah. So I'm going to be there for almost 2 weeks.
Really?
Yeah.
Jonathan, good for you. And you're
Well,
just
with
going there?
with the dogs gone, we can do that.
Right. And you can work from anywhere, right?
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Where are you staying?
At my nephew's.
Nice.
So it helps to
I
have a
feel
place
you
to stay.
dipping yourself in the toes of retirement, like dipping your toes into like getting to do all the travel and the things that you want to do. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Retirement may be too extreme a word, but you know what I mean. Good for you. Can you not pop in? I guess it'll be later. It'll be 7 o'clock your time.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I don't know. I'll probably be out and about.
Okay. We might put this class on pause, Beth, until he gets back, and we'll just carry it into the new year. So I'm not really worried about it. You'll get your money's worth of classes, I promise, and we'll do them. But at least until the middle of January, I know I'm going to be able to do these classes. So yeah. How are those mixes sitting with you guys? Would you like me to start walking through the actual painting? Would that be helpful?
Yeah.
I think so too. All right, so we're going to do that. I'm going. Right. So on our first layer here, we will go wet on wet. So I'm going to make the sky wet. And our first layer is going to be a super light layer. Once again, I'm testing here, super light orange layer. So light. So light, you can barely see it, but it's there. Very, very light layer. And on the bottom, I'm going to do a super light phthalo blue layer. So I'm also going to make that wet on wet. Oh, blue, light, very light. Still light, you can barely see it. Sometimes when you lay like a little bit too much paint like this on the canvas, on the paper, you can sort of push it, or particularly with wet on wet, you can lighten it by moving it up and down with these quick strokes. So this is our first layer. This is phthalo blue. This is burnt sienna. I'm going to take a picture and send it over so that you can see it. Oops. See how light it is? It's wet on wet. So good. Okay, so here is your first layer is that burnt sienna top. blue bottom. Hmm. Let me see if you can see it. Okay. And because we really spent a lot of time working on this, let me know when you're ready. You guys
Okay.
ready? Okay.
Yeah.
So now, preferred brush right now. So now I'm going to take a little ultramarine blue. Notice I'm putting it over here because I put some phthalo here and I don't want them to mix. Tiny bit. So once again, very light. So notice how many times I've gone in the water. Notice how many times, and then notice how light I start laying in that blue. I'm going to go a little darker. Line is kind of strong right now. I want to make it softer. So I'm going in with a little bit heavier, slightly heavier burnt sienna and maybe a touch of Quin red. But once again, I'm still testing. That's still pretty strong. Yeah, there we go. Kind of in here so I get this nice transition. So you notice I did two things. When I brushed the burnt sienna in, and a little bit more pink. I got rid of that heavy blue line. And I also got something that was a little bit more orangey on top. I can always go darker, and I will. But first, I want to go and add a tiny bit of phthalo blue on the top. Very, very light. Once again, super light. So what happens is the phthalo blue light mixes with the burnt sienna and gets a slightly yellowy thing. And this clearly isn't dark enough. And that line is too hard. So now I can go back in and start going a little bit heavier. But I want a little bit, now that blue feels too blue, so I'm mixing a little bit of burnt sienna in because I want a kind of gray. Well, bringing it up. So I have that kind of dramatic gray. I'm adding in slightly darker Quin red and burnt sienna. That's way too dark, but I was good. It was too light before, and now I want it. Yeah, there we go. A tiny bit more of you. That might have been too much. See if I can brush it out. Here we go. So I have a little bit of bleed into my um, uh, water, which I wish I didn't have, but um, comme ça. Yeah. I have something that goes from kind of gray to kind of rosy pink to slightly yellowish blue. And I will take a picture of this and send it over. I like that. Here, hold on. I feel like my edges are looking a little rough. I ended up adding a little bit more blue on my right side. Yeah, that's not too much. Let me take a picture. There we go. Okay. What I totally need is a third phone. So I keep taking this off. See if I could soften that. I'm going to try and soften this with a little bit of water. Kind of work. Sort of. I may just bring my whole thing down just a touch. Because I want to be able, yeah, there we go. We're in danger of anything's too heavy, too heavy. I'm actually going to draw in a new pencil line for my water. And what I'm doing, I don't know if you can see it, is preserving a little bit of light here. Because there's this light edge here. Let me know if you guys are ready. Quickly we can go. Not too much. This is what the trusty blanket is for. Sometimes pulling out that extra can help. Yeah. By the way, Jonathan, your hair looks really cool tonight.
Oh, thank you. I got
Uh,
it cut.
and Beth, yours looks very beautiful, as always.
My paper's just too wet. I can't do anything with it.
So you feel like you've um, gotten too much water on there?
Yeah. So like no
Maybe
color stays on there.
so maybe try again. So give yourself a new sample,
Yeah.
right? If you're struggling. And what pound paper are you using? Is it 140 or 90? If it's
It's
nice,
it's 140.
it's 140. Okay, it should be going. So I want you to start it again and try to limit your water and your paint. So you're going to be dipping in the water pretty consistently. Maybe perhaps what's not obvious when I'm doing this is that I'm dipping in the water and I'm kind of, no, it's not, right? I'm kind of tapping and I'm kind of getting the wettest part on my sample before I get on here.
Yeah.
So by the time I get on here, it's not dry exactly. I can still make a smooth thing, but um it's also true if you make too many passes, it doesn't really work.
Yeah. When I got it really wet, it
Yeah, so
I
getting
didn't ha
into
I didn't have at least I didn't get any streaks or anything. I liked how that looked,
Right.
but it was
But
just
then
too
the
wet.
top layers aren't succeeding so well.
Yeah.
Maybe you let it dry a little. Maybe you try wet on dry.
Yeah, maybe.
Hmm. This is tricky. It's also why I tend to work small, besides the fact that that's what fits on the screen. It's a little bit more controllable on these layers. Is wet on dry working a little bit better?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be wet on wet anyway, as you pointed out, right? Once you get your first layer on, it becomes wet on wet. But maybe that extra wet layer at the beginning makes it a little bit more manageable.
Yeah.
Beth, how's it going for you? Fighting it? She's laughing.
it's okay. I am getting lighter.
You're getting
There's
lighter. This, if you just get lighter, that's a win for this lesson, right? Because that's the thing that's the hardest to do in watercolor is to go light enough. Um, and look, what I'm kind of blown away with is how much depth there is, even in these tiny little light layers, which was one of the things that drew me to this piece. I knew it would be trickier, and I promised to do something way. I was looking at our last piece over here, my version of it, and thinking, oh, yeah, this is way easier because there's just a lot more color going on, like pigment. But it's really good to practice this subtle mixing and this subtle layering, um, because that's where you get to push yourself up to the next level. Um, and even if you don't quite get it right, it's a step in the process. Do you guys want me to walk through the bottom with you a little bit? Should I do that, or do you want to wait on that? We have plenty of time. I'm not trying to rush us. I'll wait. Somehow, this is my favorite thing that I've painted right now in this class so far, which is just
It looks really nice.
so. If you can get a testing sheet that you're into, rock on. And that really shows you also watercolor is the most expressive medium. I mean, I'm just like throwing paint on, light paint, and fiddling it around, not really paying attention. It's just so expressive with so little. Um, yeah, it's kind of, yeah, who knows? A lot of art is like the happy accidents as you're going along. So, Jonathan, Beth, are you all right with waiting for Jonathan to get back?
Oh, sure.
Awesome. So we'll go. We will go the full six or whatever, seven classes I said we're going to do, but we will go into the new year. And we'll wait for you to get back, Jonathan.
Okay.
Would you guys like me to talk about demonstrate a little bit on the bottom?
Sure,
I'm not going to do a lot. We're just going to do a little bit.
sure.
So we have this phthalo blue layer, which is now pretty dry. And we've got this kind of interesting pinkish orange. So I'm going to add a little bit more pink and a little bit more burnt sienna, more pink. Yep, way too dark. It's adding to my masterpiece here. The real masterpiece, not this one. And I'm leaving a little light blue edge here on the top. Ooh, wow, even that is like, it's so intense. These colors are so intense. And I'm kind of, remember how we kind of striated a little bit? So this is burnt sienna, but they're very close together here. Maybe bringing this up a little bit. Bring this up just a little bit. So I'm letting little bits of the blue kind of slip through that first blue layer. We're going to go down to about here when we can see more space. So I've got a couple more slightly darker lines. So this is quinacridone red and burnt sienna on top of dried phthalo blue. And then a couple here, leaving lights, leaving a little bit more of a hard edge. Now I'm going to go back in with my phthalo. With the, oh, shoot, that's cobalt. That doesn't help. Okay, there we go. Phthalo. Yes. And I'm going to start laying in a couple of phthalo edges here at the bottom, but also letting kind of in between some of my pinky edges. Going a little bit darker. So a little bit of that technique that we learned last week. And I'm going to bring them up a little bit, a couple blue edges, not too much, kind of up into the pinky. Oh yeah, that turned out really nice. That looks lovely. Not exactly like what's going on here, but inspired by what's going on here. So big things to remember. Preserve your little light edge, which is really this edge. Quinacridone red and burnt sienna. And then leave little spaces in between for that tiny bit of light blue to come through. Right on. So as you can see, I've departed a bit. I'll send you a picture of this. You can see how much I departed from the original. I'm okay with that. I just want these layers to kind of layer in together. So I'll show you what I mean by that. Oh, and I'm going to remove the spotlight. Set it across so that you can see. It's more like inspired by our original piece. The thing I'm the most interested in is these blended mixes and how to get these soft, subtle tones without like heavy darkness, right? Because there's really nothing heavy. And I skipped that rock altogether because there was just boring. It wrecked the thing for me, the whole thing. Once I do that, it feels more, I feel more like comfortable kind of playing around. I also didn't give myself a lot of room, but I do feel like I have this nice interplay of blue and orange and lighter blue kind of leading up to this sky. Am I going to do anything else to this? I could go maybe a little heavier and darker in here now. Now is where I might try to get that sky a little heavier, the gray a little bit heavier to balance things out. Oh, maybe I totally fucked it up. Let's see. Maybe that's too heavy. Well, better me than you guys. I don't know. It's okay. I might try to get a little bit more kind of blue up in here. I'm kind of, right, I'm adding in teeny bits of light little color. So subtle. Jonathan, my paintbrush is almost dry as I'm doing that. So I'm just telling you that now because um, uh, I don't think I really noticed it when I was doing it, but I was realizing that, like you, getting too much paint on the paper
Uh-huh.
is like a lot. And then the unwrapping of this is really the best part. Look, it's like instant frame. So at this point, you guys can deviate, right? Deviate a bit as long as you're kind of follow like I did. And like you did last week, like you both did kind of different-ish things, but practicing this technique, practicing this mixing, that's sweeter than I thought it would be. Aw, I love you. You never know. And oh, let me pop this up. It does some of that stuff that we wanted to. Might have got a little too heavy here. I wonder if I can fix that. Maybe it's too late. Ooh, there we go. Yeah, that's interesting. Nice. Not exactly what's going on, but I like it. Maybe this got a little too heavy and dark, but that's okay for me. I like the lightness that's happening down here, and I'm probably not going to touch it. If I really wanted to show this was a C, I could take a really skinny brush, mix a little ultramarine blue and a little bit of burnt umber to make it dark. Put a little boat kind of on top of this sea, well, where that silly rock is. I'll just put a little sailboat. I guess compositionally that wasn't a great decision just because it's smack in the middle, but that's the idea. General idea. You don't have to do that. You can do something different. And I want to make really clear, now I don't care what you come up with. I want you to use these techniques to push it whatever direction you want. So it doesn't have to look like this. I don't think it will. Um, I think you will then each take it in the direction you would like to take it, just like last week. Beth, I showed Rob your piece. He loved it. I was like, look at what Beth did in class today. I'm like, it was really good. I showed him your piece as well, Jonathan. He loved that too. I show him almost everything that my students do. I just because it's cute and fun. It's very fun. He's on Nutcracker now, so I don't see him as much.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, that is a big task.
Occupational hazard
Yeah.
of being a stagehand. Fascinating. I never would have tried to do this way if I hadn't had this source. I love things that push me in a direction I wouldn't normally go. Fascinating. This whole medium is a big exploration for me. I can paint in acrylic in my sleep, but this is something totally different. Um, and kind of lovely in a totally unexpected way. I like that. I like that about a art if it can still surprise you in the end. And I love all these tests. So fun as well. In some ways, the tests are like kind of part of the full art experience. Still definitely my favorite painting of the night. Testing sheet. Funny. We've got about 15 minutes left. So aim to finish this piece in that 15 minutes. See where see what that little tiny time pressure does for you. I mean, you of course don't have to finish it in 15 minutes. You can keep working on it, but together we will work on it another 15 minutes. Be done. So I'm going to remove the spotlight. Might even